Hey everyone, my name is John Fly, also known as Kilo 7 Charlie Oscar, and today I'm going to be talking about this new digital mode called FT8 using the program WSJT-X. For those of you who tune into my channel for flight simulation videos, I'm not in the plane. This is ham radio. For those of you tuning in from the ham radio side, I do flight simulation extensively on the John Fly YouTube channel, so feel free to check out my X-plane and my flight simulations from anything from a Skyhawk 172 all the way up to a Boeing 767 and everything in between. So check those videos out. Hope you enjoy the video. I'm going to go up and change the antenna for a new band. Okay, we're back in the shack now. We've changed the antenna from 30 meters to 20 meters. So now what I need to do is I need to hit the antenna, the auto antenna tuner button. But I don't have the, let's just be hypothetical and say that I'm remotely located and I'm operating the digital modes. And I don't have access to to touch that button. I found a way to control the radio remotely. So what I do here is I use a program called Wizkers Radio or Wizkers Radio. I'll leave some show notes below with some links to some of these things that I'm talking about. But unfortunately, though, this radio communication software uses the COM port that WSJT would also use, because I have a USB to serial cable that's utilizing COM port 1. So I have to close down WSJT-X for a moment, but that's okay. And then I can launch the Wizkers Radio. And that comes up here, and you can see it gives a picture. I'll go ahead and click connect to KX2, and essentially it's going to show exactly what's happening on the real-time webcam, signal strength and everything. It's also showing my internal temperature, 27 Celsius. To do the device setup, all I had to do is go in here and select the COM port. You have other settings. I haven't messed around with other data outputs. Maybe there's a way to get it to feed. Well, actually, I'm not quite sure what that. I'll have to read up on that. But here's the KX2. We just click Edit. It happens to be on COM3. So yeah, the USB device, USB to serial cable is using COM3. I'm using a baud rate of 38400. You can set this here, and you can set it in the menu on the KX2. I'm not sure if that's default or not. It may not have been. But once you set up that, then yeah, then you have this option of, well, pretty much full control. So I'm going to hit the I'm going to watch my webcam, and I'm going to hit the ATU button, and boom, it just tuned it 1.1 to 1, and all is good. Now the other thing I can do is, some of you know that the KX2, if it gets above 62 degrees Celsius, it will then reduce its power output to 5 watts. So you can do 10 watts up until you reach that 62 Celsius PA internal temperature. So what that means is you can probably make 1 or 2 QSOs at 10 watts before it'll automatically cut down to 5 watts. Or you make 1 to 2 QSOs and you stop and you let it cool back down into the 30 some odd degrees Celsius range, and then you can go when that gets cool. Now I've been researching some of the heat sink options for the radios. Haven't decided which one I'm going to go with, because I want the ability to run 10 watts a lot longer. So if any of you have suggestion on how I can keep the KX2 much cooler, that'd be great to hear. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the power area I'm just going to type 10, and then I'm going to hit right there to write it. As you can see, it changed the KX2 to 10 watts. You have a lot more control in here. The other thing I need to do is, because I changed the antenna, I actually tuned the antenna on 30 meters with it being set for 20 meters out there. That's kind of interesting. But let's click on 20 meters. And again, we probably should move off frequency a little bit. This will be brief though. Quickly tune it 1.0 to 1. And yeah, we're ready to receive. Now we have to close this program in order for WSJT-X to be able to work. So we click disconnect, and then we close the box. Open up WSJT-X, and let's start decoding. Because I'm doing remote desktop, so I'm using remote desktop software, the stuff that comes with Windows, in order to remote desktop into that PC. So already you can see that we're decoding. So we've decoded W9 SBE, calling CQ, and you'll notice a couple other things I'm using here. I've got JTAlert 2.10.1. It tells me if I need that state. It also tells me if I've worked that station before. It will also tell me if they're in a logbook of the world, and it gives me their CQ zone, state, distance, bearing, etc., and what I need them on, what award. So only one CQ so far. Now, because I run a very small magnetic loop antenna, and I run between 5 and 10 watts, I really try to focus on stations that are pretty strong. But because of the new release of WSJT-X version 1.80 RC2, I was able to make a queue so where I did receive a minus 24 report for the first time. There's WE4SEL, so I'm going to double click on him. I've made the software automatically call him back when I've double clicked on his call sign. You can see here that it's enabled the TX, and I'm on odd. So right now I just transmitted WE4SEL K7CO Delta November 30. I'm now going to receive back, and because I run such a low little pistol station, I have to be patient, and sometimes I don't get the fish at the end of the fish in expedition. He has increased in signal strength. He's now minus 6 dB instead of minus 13, so there is a chance that we're going to get him. When we transmit, we're transmitting 10 watts. Oh, snack, I just realized something. This webcam is not showing the correct frequency. The cool thing about 1.8.0 RC2 is that, as you can see, WE4SEL, he answered November Oscar 7 Echo, and my station automatically stopped transmitting. This is just a webcam freeze here, so if I bring the webcam over here and back, suddenly it changes to the correct frequency. I gotta figure that out. It may be due to the resolution that I'm using, or maybe it's because of the remote desktop refreshing. Okay, so WE4SEL is completing the QSO with NO7E. We got a couple other people calling CQ. We'll just wait a few moments here and see if he comes, if he calls CQ again. If I see a 73, I'm going to go ahead and engage the transmit. But then again, maybe I should wait a moment to see if he calls CQ, because the other station could be sending 73 as well. Still learning the protocols on FT8. Any suggestions in the comments below would be appreciated. Over here we got a graph. I haven't really played around with this too much, but this is basically graphing the signals that are coming in on the band. I'm assuming this starts at 14074 and most people are transmitting 0.6 and above. Some people have talked about how FT8 users are creeping into the JT65 and JT9 segments. I try to be careful not to do that, but sometimes when the band's very crowded, I see the FT8 users spreading out. Okay, I didn't think my radio was transmitting, but it's just the webcam being delayed. So WE4SEL is calling me back. He gave me a -10 signal report. I'm giving him a -04. Hopefully that will continue the exchange. Hopefully, yep, there we go. We just worked WE4SEL. It's auto logging here, so I just click OK, and then I've set it up so it automatically logs the QSO to my DX keeper via JTAlert. So as you can see down here, WE4SEL is now worked, and the signal reports have been exchanged. I'm going to mess around with the webcam size here and see if maybe a little bit better refresh. So yeah, we just sent 73. So there you go. There's a QSO on FT8, and a couple other things I will show you. We can see that other stations have been calling CQ. We got Cuba coming in. If I hit erase, it erases the frequency that I was on, whatever traffic was there, mostly our QSO. If I double click erase, it erases both sides, which is pretty handy. And now it's starting to decode again. I was going to show you a couple other websites that I use that help me see what's going on the bands, where I'm being heard, etc. It just so happens that that was a new state for me on FT8. WE4SEL is in Mississippi. QTH is Ecru, Mississippi. Haven't worked Mississippi before. I'm brand new to this mode. I've worked maybe, I think, about 8 or 9 states now. I'm going to try to work all 50 states. With my little station here with 5 to 10 watts in the magnetic loop. So one of the stations, or sorry, one of the websites that I go to is called hamspots.net. Up here, if you go to digital modes and you go to FT8 plus chat, you get a nice little chat screen, and then these are also spots that are happening right now. Looks like Germany is talking to Brazil on 15 meters. We've got Peru talking to Argentina on 20. The States are talking to South America. We got the East Coast talking to France. We got the East Coast talking to the UK. Russia's talking to Russia. Italy's talking to Italy. Finland's talking to, or not necessarily having a conversation, but they hear, one of them hears the other. And then it says here the signal strength. And the mode. And then down here is where I'm being heard, right? So I'm being heard in the Midwest, back east, in the South, Texas, Georgia, Ohio, New Hampshire, Vermont, up in that area, Connecticut. I'm being heard, well, actually, if you look here at the age, in the last 7-9 minutes, I've only been heard here. And the reason that I'm telling you, for those of you who are not familiar with ham radio call signs, the number in the call sign sometimes will dictate where they are geographically in the United States. So I'm in Utah, so I have a 7 in my call sign. But in today's day and age, if you get a call sign and you move to a different state, or if you request a vanity call sign, you may have a number that does not necessarily show where you are. But you ham radio veterans already know this. That's more of a tidbit for some of my flight sim buddies that may or may not be watching this video this far in. So, oh yeah, the other website I was going to show you is pskreporter.info. pskreporter.info has a map display button here. If I go here and I say, okay, I want to, who's heard K7, you know, my call sign K7CO using FT8 in the last hour? Let's hit go. So you can see that transmission, that conversation, that contact that I had with Mississippi, I was being heard elsewhere. And these computers are automatically reporting. So I was being heard in Michigan, I was being heard in Chicago, and in Illinois, Iowa, and then Mississippi, which is there's the station that I talked to. So I went from Utah all the way down to Mississippi, and I was using 10 watts of power to make that contact. Some of you out there who are not hams may ask why. Why wouldn't you have a conversation with this person, or what, you know? Well, sometimes you do, but the digital modes, it's more like refining your antennas and your power and your skills to make contacts. In this case, I'm trying to work all the states. I have worked Canada, Mexico, and Cuba on this mode, so those are kind of bonuses. And I will try to, over time, collect as many countries as I can. But occasionally you'll find me on the bands, on the ham radio bands, with a microphone. And I'll just chit-chat with someone about, the football game that just happened, or what airplane I was just flying the other day, on the simulation or in the real world. So it's kind of cool. But some of you may not understand this. But if you've made it this far, maybe you're interested in what this is all about. For those of you who are a little more advanced, who maybe have not considered the digital modes, or have not considered WSJT-X or FT8, and maybe you're interested in learning a little bit more, and you want to learn how I set up this software. I'm going to go over a couple of things. When you install WSJT-X, and it asks you for, and you go into your settings, right? It's going to ask you some very basic stuff like your call sign, your grid square, etc. A lot of these options you can leave it at blank. This behavior I have set double click on call sets TX enable. So if I double click on one of these stations over here that's calling out looking for anyone, I double click it, it automatically sets my software into transmit mode. I like that. I can't remember if that's a default now though or not. I like my distance in miles, etc. So some very basic setup there. And then you go into the radio section, right? And you may, who knows what radio I have? I have an Elecraft KX2. KX2 is not listed, so you just choose K3/KX3. Uses the same protocols. Flex radios are in here. You got ICOMs, Kenwoods, Yaesus, a lot of different options in here. I leave the pole interval the same. I choose the COM port that my serial, USB to serial port chose, which was COM3. I set the baud rate to 38400. I set my PTT method to cat, and I left everything on default. Some people use Vox, and all that means is that it's like a voice activated or sound activated transmission starts. I like cat control better. Under audio, okay, so at the very beginning of this video, you heard me talking about the Sobrent USB stick. It's a sound card. That small sound card that I have plugged into the laptop is well, I'll show you right now. It's very, very expensive. Wow, it's kind of interesting how it's actually gone up in price since I bought it. But basically, this Sobrent USB external stereo sound adapter for Windows Mac. No drivers needed, blah, 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 blah. It's very pricey. $7.29. I actually think I did get mine for $6. So it's gone up a little bit. A little bit of demand, maybe. Prime people are going to get it shipped to for free. So yeah, this little guy here eliminates the need for me to have a signal link or an MFJ or a West Mountain radio, any sort of interface device for the digital modes. I don't need it. I just use cat control and that USB sound card. I do have to thank someone for leading me that direction.
Thank you for joining me with Signal Search today. My call sign is K5ACL and my name is Johnny.
Okay, so K5ACL. Go do a search on YouTube for additional information for JT modes. JT modes with the Elecraft KX2 and WSJT-X. This guy's really good.
Today we're going to be doing specifically a how-to video on how to get your KX3, Elecraft KX3, up and running with JT modes.
So yeah, that right there is the K5ACL. Thank you, Johnny. That was awesome to let me understand that I didn't need the interface. So I've set up, once I plugged in that device, it's set up on the computer as a USB audio device. You come in here to the audio and you change it to the USB audio device. TX macros I don't mess with. Reporting, I choose the prompt to log the QSO. So it says, okay, after I've made the contact, do you want to log this? Yes. It logs it, and then it logs it twice. It not only logs it in WSJT-X, but it also logs it in my DX keeper. I've also set up, in order for it to talk to everything, you need to set up this part here. You can see UDP server 127.0.0.1 and the UDP port number 2237. You have to check all of these boxes, right? And what that allows us to do is it allows it to communicate with JTAlert. And JTAlert is very handy for letting you know, okay, KF5SEJ, I've not worked before in Mississippi, WD9HSY in Illinois, and K2JK in New Jersey. And then whether or not they're on Logbook of the World and all that good stuff. I'll go over that program here in a bit. Here's the frequencies. Now, some of you advanced FT8 users have been using 1.8 RC1, and then you've gone to RC2, and these frequencies are not there any longer. Just right-click and click Reset. Right-click and reset, and you'll get those frequencies. Those to populate back. Colors, advanced. I don't change anything in here. So there's my setup of WSJT. Let's go ahead and see if we can make another QSO. I'm going to get a fresh screen by double-clicking. We'll let it decode a little bit here. I'll erase that. Let's go ahead and talk about JTAlert for a moment. So I'll leave a link below where you can download JTAlert. Once you install it, you know, it asks you for some basic questions, but the thing here that you want to, well, I'll show you. I like to download the other things that are available for download. So if we go to hamapps.com, and then down here we got JTAlert 2.1.0. Tells you about what it all does. But what I do is I download these additional downloads. I download the Hamapps call sign database. That gives me the information that I'd like to have, you know, especially with regard to, you know, whether or not a person is a Logbook of the World user, that type of thing. It also has a bunch of other information in there. And then Hamapps sounds. So if you want to have alerts, these Hamapps sounds are nice. You know, you can say, if I'm out of the room and, you know, West Virginia comes on and I want to be notified, it'll say West Virginia, that type of stuff. So you can download that on hamapps.com. Right now I have it connected to DX Keeper, as I talked about before. I can come in here and I can toggle these things for wanted call signs, continents, grids, whatever. Under Manage Settings, it'll come up and give you a ton of options. Here, I want a audio visual alert on my own call sign, potentially. like US state, wanted, DXCC, etc. A lot of options there. Worked before, enable work before call sign display. Some options there. Under logging, if I go to DX Keeper, I say enable DX Lab, DX Keeper logging. These were by default, and then it locates the database on your computer for your logging software. The other thing here is I don't do anything in here, I don't think. Under window, I don't think I do anything. Miscellaneous, no. But under web services, I go into online logbooks and online XML callbook. So in there, you can designate like an XML lookup, like from QRZ.com, for example. Some good stuff there. Program updates. Error downloading data. Huh. Check for updates. Let's see. Yep, we're on the latest. So there you go. Go through the settings, read the manuals. It's pretty cool. But again, it's pretty handy to have an alert. I need to learn how to make this window bigger, though. I haven't messed with the visual side of the settings. I'll have to look into that. Finally. So N2 BJ Bravo Juliet is giving me a minus 14 decibel. I'm giving him a plus 12. Plus 12. Big signal. Hopefully he'll get a receive of my report. And oh no, he didn't. I'm now giving. He gave me. He repeated that I'm minus 14, and I'm sending back to him that he's plus 11. Now we're receiving again. Hope I get him. Yes, got him. He sends RRR. I'm sending 73. It prompts me to log him. So there we go. Illinois. Automatically logged. JTAlert. And then when he pops up on JTAlert, it'll say worked before. $73. See right there, it says red before, so I've worked him before. Probably a little small to see on the screen there. Anyway, thanks for your patience watching this video today. I'm really known. Well, that's not really a proper way to say it. On YouTube, you'll look through my videos and you will see that 99% of my videos are flight simulation. So if you're a ham radio operator, check out my flight simulation videos. Maybe flight simulation is something that you're into, or maybe flight simulation is something that you might want to get into. Not that it has anything to do with radio, but I also do some real-world flying. There's a couple of real-world flight videos in there with my friends Max and Josh and Ben. More coming up this coming week. I'm going to be doing some live streaming. I'm thinking about live streaming ham radio on Twitch, but I'm not sure. I gotta look into the all the situations for that. But again, thank you for joining me today. I'm John, K7CO, John Fly, known on twitch.tv, twitch.tv/JONFLY. Hope to catch you soon. And again, thanks for watching. Click like or dislike and subscribe if you want to be notified of awesome content. 73. So pretty simple setup here. We got the Elecraft KX2 10 watt QRP rig. We got an MFJ power supply. This is a solid state switching power supply, 30 amp, really cool. This is the battery that came with the KX2. Right here is a little webcam because I actually control this computer, or sorry, yeah, that computer over there, remotely from anywhere in the world. And so I want a webcam on my KX2 so I can see power, SWR, etc. I'll go over, as you can see here, the band's dead on 30 meters. I'll go over the other part here of the KX2. So I've got a Sabrent USB sound card, and you can see the cables plugged in here that go to the ports on the KX2. The red and green cable here. I do have a wireless USB mouse receiver there when I use that. But over here, the red's going to the phone jack, and the green is going to the mic jack. So I don't need a signal link or any sort of interface box because I just use cat control, and that's done by this USB cable that plugs into the ACC port on the KX2. A little bit discombobulated, I guess, with my cables here. I could probably make them look a little bit better. But anyway, that USB interface, I do cat control, and I'll give you a demonstration of that. This is another battery that I just picked up. This is a Biano battery. You can see here it's 12 volts, 33 amp hour, 36 watt hour. Yeah, this thing will probably power the KX2 for a long time. I haven't tested yet. Comes with some Anderson connectors, and then this is the adapter that you can use to charge it with the power supply that comes with it. And it comes with an LED to let you know when it's done charging. Anyway, that's I think it's called Biano Power. And I love the fact that they come with Anderson connectors. That's just really cool. So, yeah. So now we'll go up and change the antenna. So this is my magnetic loop. It's the Chameleon P-Loop 2.0, and it's really nice and portable. Works really well. The only downside is I have to manually change the bands, so I'm going to do that now. Alright, so again, this is the UKITS analyzer. I'm going to go ahead and change it to 20 meters. So right now you can't even see any sort of scale. I'm going to come up here, I'm going to rotate this. Let me do that again. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to rotate until that shows on the chart. Just rotating this until I start to see the chart show up, and it has shown up. So I'll come down here and I'll show you guys here. You can see that it's resident up in this area, so I'm going to continue to move it. Wrong way. I'm going to continue to move that until that centers right there. I'm going to go a little bit below just because I know the FT8 is a little bit lower than 14,100. there. It's showing 1.5 there on 14100. But I'm going to go this side of it just a little bit here. I'm going to leave it at like 2.0. That way I know that it's probably a little more resonant at 14074. I hope. We'll find out downstairs. So again, I'm rotating that knob right there on the chameleon magnetic loop. Just using a little tripod here, makeshift situation. Tied down. Gonna go portable with it today, so I need to tear it all down.